All right, so the Rebbe is talking about a very interesting. We're doing the Dvar Malchut, the Dvar Malchut, a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991. The Lubavitcher Rebbe here is talking about the importance of the world, and how the world is of prime importance. And in some way, it's more important than God and more important than the Jews. I mean, how can you say anything is more important than God? Well, first of all, what does it mean important, right? If God is alone, so there's no one that God is important to. So we're talking about important means in our priorities. Where should our main priority be? So, I mean, of course, you have to believe in God, and you have to think about yourself. Says, yeah, but the whole point of God creating the world is that we have to think about ourselves, and we have to think about God, what God wants from the world. In other words, the world, what's the story of the Torah? God created the world. That's the story of the Torah. It says the Jewish people existed in God's thought before the world was created. God, of course, existed. I mean, like God doesn't exist. God creates existence. So let's say God existed, of course, before the world, and the Jewish people existed before it created the world, but the world didn't exist, right? So the whole point of the Torah is the world. Bereshis bora Elokim et hashamayim. In the beginning, God created. He starts creating. That's the story of the Torah. He says, why did God create? What's the point? What is he creating for? Why is God creating for the world? He says, okay, let's just 1 second. Let's see what's the indications that that the world is more important. I have this fan over here that keeps coming out. It's very this. All right. So what's it? Because we see, how does the Torah begin? The Torah begins that on the first day, God created this. The second day, God created this. Third day, God created the fourth day, God created fifth day, God created this. The sixth day, God created. All those days are creation days, world. The first day, God created the light. The second day, created the division. The third day, and he's creating animals. He's creating the fish. And he's creating this. And finally, the last thing he creates, the last thing is man. So we see that the Torah begins with 6 days only talking about the world, only the world. Then right at the end of the 6th day is man. And after that is Shabbat, that's God. Okay, of course, God existed before the world, and it says that Shabbat was really before the first day. But let's just talk about the order of creation. First of all, we have the world. Right at the end of the world is man. And after man comes Shabbat, that's God. So if so, we see somehow or other the world is a very, very, very great importance, a thing which a religious person wouldn't think. Usually religious people think the world is sort of our enemy. Well, we got to get out of the world. Right? We go to heaven. What's going to be? That's what we're preparing for, is to go to heaven. Comes Judaism and says, no, right? The Rebbe says, not so. Heaven, going to heaven, that's just after all the main feature. That's after the main feature. The main feature is the world. That's the main thing. Setting the stage for the world. And then comes man. Oh, man has to fix up the world. And then comes God. So God lets man know how to fix up the world. Again, of course, God came first. I mean, God is first. And God created everything. It's Bereshis bora Elokim that God created. Right? But nevertheless, the way the Torah is that God is mentioned third. Bereshis in the beginning, bora created, Elokim, God. God is number 3. It says that the Greeks learned that God is part of the creation. God is one of the forces of creation. They believed in all these other gods. And, and when they forced the 70 elders of the Jews to translate the Torah into Greek, as they all changed the translation, they wrote God, instead of writing the beginning created God, the heavens and the earth, They wrote God created in the beginning. They put the word God first so that the Greeks wouldn't make the mistake of thinking that we agree with them. That God is just part, the creation always was, existence always was. And God was one of the forces of creation that came in. Sort of like, I mean, I imagine there's something like in science, don't think I'm a scientist, but something like the Big Bang Theory. First of all, there was something, whoever it was, and this something somehow there came together and there was this big explosion and there was this big bang or whatever it was. But there always was something, right? That's basic Greek philosophy also. Always there was something. And God came afterwards. God came afterwards. Well, Judaism says that there's a point to that because the main importance is this physical world. God created the world not just because he had nothing to do. God created the world because it was tremendously important to him. Like I said before, all being, creation, existence only began 5,000 something. Before there was no existence, there was no being. There was just pure creator. There was no creation. So the world is tremendously important to God. Okay, so that's what it says. According to this, now we can understand what type of reckoning we have to make in the month of Elul. Ani ladodi v'dodi li. Ani ladodi means what I do for God. Dodi li means how God reacts. And joining both of them together in one word, that's Elul. That means that the world should express this oneness of God all the time. Ani ladodi means I sort of get out of the illusion of the world. Dodi li means God helps me in the world, helps me. But ani ladodi dodi li means a complete unity of the world and the creator, the creation of the creator. And this is what we have to look at. Have I been doing this the past year? Have I been trying to accomplish this at all? To make the world a permanently good place by means of my good deeds? Have I been trying? That's so the whole thing of Ani Ladodi, the whole thing is what we do for God from below to above. Even though that this brings a person to revelation of Dodi, my beloved. But this is Ani Ladodi, I am to my beloved from below to above, how I understand what God is. This is an arousal from below. But there's a good thing about this because that's what God wants. When we serve on our own, then it becomes part of us. It becomes something real. It becomes something real. Like it was very well known. There were what's called the maskilim, the enlightened. There were Jews, a lot of Jews. This is more like 200 years ago, and they were very, very intelligent, gifted, but it came to them too easy. And so they became big Torah scholars, but they didn't believe in God. They didn't want to disturb themselves in any way to do what God wants. It happened to be that learning came really easy to them. He says that's the bad thing about getting everything free from God. Like the Jews got out of Egypt, God gave them everything. And then the first difficulty came, they worshiped the golden calf. And the advantage of Ani Ladodi means working from below to above. When it's difficult and you overcome the difficulties, then you have to have a reason for overcoming the difficulties. And that reason, if you find it in your soul, that you've got this in your soul, it's a new type of genuineness. It's a new type of earnestness of, you want to call it, there's a good word for it. Oh, yeah. Of, I'll think of it later. Anyway, of a unity is a good word. I'll think of the word. It's a good type of, it's a new type of identity, who I am, right? Who I am. Right? A person really feels I am an American, so he's willing to give everything for America. Then when he comes back, he doesn't care what happens because he's an American, right? He's an American. A Jew says, listen, I'm a Jew no matter what, right? What if it's difficult? What if people laugh at you? What if I don't care? On the other hand, these people that everything came to them easy. So as soon as there was a little bit difficulty or they saw something that was they really desired, but it was against the Torah, so they threw away the Torah. They threw away the Torah because the things that come easy. So that's why Ani Ladodi, it begins with me serving God first. That comes into an inner way. But Dodi Li, but then God reacts. Ani Ladodi, that's first of all. And Dodi Li, this is by means of the service of a Jew, which is above normal. But Derech Hamshacham Yelamayla Lamata. This is serving God in a way which is not commensurate to my personality, by means of revealing your soul. The Nefesh Elokit, inspiration from God. It's not so deep in a personality way, but it jumps you, a person jumps up by means of this to be a totally different person. Because it comes from a revelation from above, but it reaches a much higher level of godliness than it was before. So working from below to above means that you become a chassid. You don't fool yourself. But working from above to below means that God gives you blessings, inspiration, talents you didn't know you had, right? And this, if used properly, can jump you up to a very, very integrated level of serving God, very high. So the first way is serving God no matter what, even if there are difficulties. The second way is all of a sudden you become smarter, you become more emotional about God, you become more able to speak, you become more convincing to others. These are gifts that are given from God. The beginning is Ani Ladodi. I serve God from below, despite all the difficulties. Ladodi Li, that means God takes away the difficulties. And he makes it easier, gives me new talents. But the ideal shleimus akol is when they're both together. Ani ladodi badodi li, together. Dargas elokus, at the level of godliness, which is dodi, my beloved, which is above, that it's higher than ani, than me, a person below, right? Ani means me. Ladodi is God. Ideally, it should be that it should be revealed in an inner way of ani. That the talents that I get, that God takes away the difficulties, this should be a thing that I internalize, that I don't say that I deserve it. I realize that it just increases my responsibility to the Creator. Till they become one thing, with no difference between them, by means of the revelation of God's essence that He reveals in His Ani from below. So, and simply speaking, what it means is that ideally Judaism is supposed to be that I'm happy to serve, I'm happy to make God happy. I'm happy that I make God happy. And because of this, it enables me to do more. I become more sensitive. My mind understands more things. I have a better memory for things. I become more pleasant. I become more loving. I love God more. I love the Jewish people more. I love the Torah more. I love God's creation more. These are gifts from above. But how I use it, it just increases, all these gifts just increase my feeling of how do you say, debt to God. That means from internal. The more benefits God gives me, the more I feel obligated to serve God. Like Moses said, why is Moses the most humble person in the world? Because Moses knew that he had these tremendous talents. But he said, but if God would have given them to somebody else, he would have felt a bigger responsibility than me. He would have done more for God. He would have used these talents better than I'm using them. In other words, every time God gives us a gift, that's dodili, it's supposed to be that I should feel more obligated and more responsible to my Creator. That's the ideal. Ani ladodi dodi li. That the more God gives to me, the more I feel I have to give to God, and the more I give to God, the more God gives to me. Ani ladodi is me giving to God, and dodi li is God giving to me, waking up my godly soul. Until Yeshamiti, until the true. So let me make this further. And that the true essence of God, Nif Elis Umitkadelas Davka, the true oneness of God is revealed by means of my service from below. Go to the Yeshanivra. Right? That's the whole idea of the third temple. Why we need the third temple. It says that the whole world will be filled with the glory and the revelation of God. And the whole thing of the temple is to reveal God, right? It says not exactly. That was the Holy of Holies. That was the Torah. but there was the altar. What was the thing about the altar? We serve God. Our serving God. That's going to be always. We're always going to be serving God. The more godliness, the more G-dly that there is, the more godliness that's revealed in the world, the more responsible, the more indebted we will feel to the Creator. The more we'll want to make the sacrifices. That's the whole thing of Ani Ladodi, because I am to God, so God is to me, and that makes me feel more that I am Ladodi and the. Therefore, we'll see how precious this physical world will be. That's the point the Rebbe wants to get to. When God reveals pure godliness in the world, then we'll feel how precious the world is. It's not the world will go away. That the world is a big bluff, and the world is a big mirage, and the world is a terrible place, and the devil rules over the world, and etc., etc. All those things are true. That's all true, right? But only on a very superficial way. They're true. A deep way of the world, like God said when He created the world, right? Right before Shabbat came in. Look in the Bible. God saw everything He made, and it was very good. The world is very good. Physical world. The physical world is very, very good. Huh? It says the world is very good. It says the land of Israel is very, very good. It says Tov me'od me'od. It says Tov me'odam. So one time, very good. It says Yesh that the world itself, in the beginning, when you serve God, things have to go in an orderly way from below to above. Asiya, Yetzira, Bria, Atzilas. But afterwards, by means of this, that God helps us, this brings afterward a service of G-dly, serving God, of God serving us, waking us up. It comes from the other way, from above to below. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. That God starts giving us gifts. Mitgaleh Elokus is revealed godliness, which is above the creation, in my ani, in myself, until it makes one thing, G-dly. That me being unified with God and God being unified with me becomes one continuous dynamic elevation. Like God says, anytime it says Yichuli Truma, God says, take to me, it means something that's going to be eternal. That the eternal oneness of God will be revealed in this physical world. The Yesh Emiti Vanitzchi, that this physical world will see that this physical world, this is the true reality. This is true godliness. The physical world is true godliness. Not the way it is now, right? I mean, the world will be the way it is now. We'll just reveal the true value of it. It's almost like somebody gives you a diamond, but it's all dirty, right? It's all diamond. But because the diamond comes from, your father or something like that, or your grandfather, so you value it. And so one day it happens to be that you start working on it, polishing up. All of a sudden you realize that diamond, the thing is worth like $20 billion, right? Some precious diamond from the crown of, Nimrod or something, who knows what. Or the same thing, the world. Externally, the world looks like that terrible, dirty place. But if we clean it up on the outside, suddenly realize, it's tremendously valuable. Here the Rebbe is saying that the world is valuable. Our service in the world reveals that. And we're part of the world. So it says, therefore, the world becomes eternal above time, which time is change. From this, we can understand a main, very important point in what type of reckoning we should make in the month of Elul. The month of Elul, it says we have to make an accounting of our soul. Avoda b'meshech kol yomei hashana tzorich liot b'shlemos inyanim. How do we make a proper inventory of the past year? It says, well, this is the measure, the measuring stick. Ani ladodi dodi li. Have I served God? Is God arousing me? If not, it's a sign that I'm not serving Him properly. Is it all integrated? One, me and God, what I give to God, what God gives to me, how I react to that, my gratitude, my service. Let's see. What's the cheshbon tzedek avoda b'meshech kol yomei hashana? How are we supposed to, the month of Elul, it's coming, that's going to be next week, the month of Elul. Not this coming week, in 2 weeks, the month of Elul. How are we supposed to, it's the month of reckoning, of inventory. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Right? You sit in a couple, you think, a normal person, what does he think? Right? Let's start off in a good way. What are we supposed to think? Think of all the good things you did. Forget about the bad things. All the good things you did in the past year. You did good things. You said hello to people. You were honest in business. That's good. Huh? Those are good things. All the good things you did. You did a commandment here and there. You gave charity. Those things are invaluable. Invaluable. That outweighs all the bad things you did. Okay, good. Now you're good. Right? But you have to improve. You have to improve. It has to be better. Can't rely on that. Okay, now let's start looking at the bad things. Look at what you didn't do enough. How you can improve. Right? Not getting punished. You're not going to get punished. You did one good thing, that's enough. That could outweigh all the bad things that you did. Good. Okay, so now you don't have to worry. You're not going to go to hell. You're okay. One good thing. You said good morning to someone on the street. You the Boker Tov, good morning. You helped someone. You gave a person. You found a dime on the street or something. You gave it to a poor person. You did something good. That's it. You're fixed up. Okay, now, but you got to do better. You got to do better. Now start looking at the bad things. Let's look at the things that you didn't do properly. How you can fix it up. How you can be better the next year. Says, okay, what am I supposed to do? It says, oh, now I'm giving you the slogan. You should always repeat the mantra. You should always repeat. And this is going to be your guiding light, how to judge yourself productively. Okay. Number one. Keitzad avad Yehudi et avodato da'ani ladodi. How I did my service of I am to my beloved, to God, from below to above. How much energy, how many talents, how much effort, how much did I invest in this service? Ubechlalos in general, hacheshbon benogea la'avoda bebirur haguf v'chelka b'olam. Have I refined my personality? Have I refined my, don't make excuses. Forget about making excuses, right? I finished saying, you're not going to get punished. Don't worry about it, right? And we're not talking about anybody. This is not, there's no video, what is a surveillance camera that's showing what you did. You don't have to write it down on papers that it's going to be, discovered. You to yourself, your personality is okay. I once heard two people arguing. Guy was yelling at the other one, and the other one said back to him, tell me, are you 100%? You're 100% okay? And the guy kept quiet. The one that was yelling kept quiet. Well, I guess you got a point. That's what you're supposed to look at myself. Am I 100%? Right? Yeah, sure. Come on, look at yourself. Maybe a little bit you did. Well, maybe a little bit I did wrong. Maybe, I could improve I could not get mad. But I don't get mad. I mean, people make me mad. Stop making excuses. Think about it. You're never supposed to get mad. Take an example. Nothing is supposed to make you angry. Nothing. You're not supposed to get angry. It says a person that gets angry is like he's serving idols. You get angry? Yeah, but the reason, forget about the reason. You get angry, it's not good. How can you fix it? How can I fix it up? Start to work. You give charity? Listen, these people are bummed, they're cheaters. You give charity to someone? I know, a little bit. Come on. How much do you give? You have to give more. You learn Torah? You come to the classes. Everything is you could increase more. You're not working for yourself. We already said yourself is fixed up. You're fixed up. You did one good thing. Okay, you're okay. You're fixed up. You're going to go to heaven. Good. Now let's start to serve God. Now let's talk about serving God. God is very nice. Because he creates you. If he creates you, it's a sign that he loves you. You exist, that he loves you. Okay, now let's go step number 2. Try to repay him. If you don't repay him, he'll still create you. Don't worry, you're not going to get any punishments. But come on, between you and God, huh? That's ani ladodi. What have I done for God? Think about it. Think about it. Could you do more? Could you do what you did? Could you do better? Consider, right? Maybe take examples from people that do things you never dreamed of doing. right? Go to another class, be a nicer person. When you pray, learn the meaning of the words, think about the meaning of the words, get more, check your tefillin, maybe check them again. That's ani ladodi, what I do for God. Number two, nosef, in addition to this, a Jew also has to not suffice. So you can't think. You can't just be satisfied about doing a little bit more. Ani ladodi, ela tzorach gam lasot cheshbon ketzad uavad et avodato v'dodi li. Think about this. God is giving me life. What am I doing to deserve this life? I don't know. Nothing. Why do I have to do something? I don't have to do anything. You're right. You don't have to. You don't have to. God is God is really good, really good. But it's a free gift. It's an amazing gift, right? Yeah. Yes, it's an amazing gift. No. So God is giving you this amazing gift that nothing you could do could possibly earn it. It's above understanding. Okay. So God is giving you something above understanding. That's dodi li. So do something for him above understanding. Jump out of yourself. That's called the godly soul. That's dodi li. Serve not on your standards, ani ladodi, ani first. Let's start off with dodi first, dodi li. Let's go on God's standards. I have to jump out of myself. V'derech milamayla lamata, from above to below. A complete service, like the level of Shabbat, we said, that every single Jew can and must demand from himself that he should activate his Jewish soul. Shakodesh Baruch Hu ba'atzma, that God himself is a living king, gave inside of us. So every morning we wake up and say, thank you, God, for giving me my soul. Not just my natural soul that I'm waking up, but that I'm a Jew. No, you're a Jew. You have to act like it. What do you mean acting like a Jew? I do the commandments. No, Jews are crazy. Jews are crazy. If you act normal, it's good. That's good, but it's not very good. Jews are crazy. They're crazy for God. They're above understanding, above logic. There's things that you're afraid of. That's not Jewish. A Jew is not afraid of anything that stops the service of God. We're not talking about driving on the wrong side of the street, doing stupid things. There's things that you should serve God that you don't do because you're afraid. No, I'm afraid people laugh at me. People this and that. No, be a Jew. Use your godly soul. Jump out of the world. This natan v'noten b'kol boker. We're thanking God for giving our soul every morning. That's serving God above understanding from our godly soul. The God is first before me. And the third way is, in addition, there can also be joining both of them together. Afilu kasher ochaz, even when he is serving God in a complete way, but it has to be connected to dodi li, that God is to me. And my natural being is not once in a while I jump out of myself. That I'm always jumping out of myself. What does it mean always jumping out? When I put on tefillin, I'm doing it only for God. When I give charity, I'm doing it only for, I'm not thinking about what I get. This kafishu, that's that becomes natural by me. Kafishu nimsa is a soul and a body below. If a davka only by means of this, that ani ladodi be only by means of me serving God on my terms, that makes a vessel for dodi li, that God gives me on his terms, and they become one. But kashem, just like that by means of this, that a Jew makes this at the end of the year, the month of Elul, that you're making this inventory on yourself, an honest inventory, cheshbon tzedek, benogea, to how much he works with himself, namely this world, man, which is a small world. So he also does the same thing with the big world, the world around you. Okay, you got yourself fixed up. You're serving. What about all the people around you? There's Jews around you that they don't know about Judaism, that they do know, but maybe they should put on tefillin. Maybe they put on tefillin. Maybe the tefillin on kosher. Right? They know, to inspire people to the ad sheyesh b'kocho lasos as a cheshbon and the kol olam, until you can make. It says bo nachshav cheshbon shel olam. And let's consider the the calculation of the world is from the Gemara, right? 89. Where is this? The word in Baba Batra. This is in Baba Batra. And like the Rambam says, that by means of one commandment, a Jew has the ability to tilt, to incline himself and the whole entire world for good. The world is on a very delicate balance. By doing one good thing, you can incline yourself and the whole world to good. So according to this, now we can understand the connection of the portion of the week to Shabbat Mavorchim Elul, Parshat Ekev. Like I said, this Shabbat is not Shabbat Mavorchim. Next Shabbat is Parshat Re'eh, next week. This Shabbat is Parshat Ekev. And back then in 1991, the calendar came out that it was it was Shabbat Mavorchim. But nevertheless, we're learning about Elul. It's relevant to us. And the word Ekev, that's this week's Torah portion. The Ekev, there's many different meanings. Simple meaning means because. Ekev Tishmun, because you listen to me, God, I'm going to give the blessings in their time. That's what God said. But there's a lot of other explanations of the word Ekev. Among them, from one end to the other, Rashi says Ekev is talking about the simple commandments that people tread under their heels. Ekev means a heel. Other people say, the word Ekev, it means Achrit v'sof, the end. The Ekev is like the end of a person. Yikru'u b'lashon HaKodesh techila, because in Hebrew, the end means the beginning end and the final end, right? In Hebrew, it's the heels can be either the beginning or it can be the finality, the finale, because the word lashon yitfos dimyono ba'adam. For instance, a person is like, usually in a person, the head is beginning and the ekev, the heels, are the end. But also, the word ekev can also be beginning. The olam ekev schar ba'acharona, what's in the end? Hainu shaya ekev tishmaun, namely what? That we will feel the ekev, the heels, the very end that we will receive at the end of creation. Moshiach. This is the simple meaning of ba'avur, because of. So we have ekev means the lowest, and the word ekev means the final reward that we're going to get, the highest. Tishma'un al mishpatim ha'elu u'shmartem v'asitem otam, that because we do the commandments, then we'll receive the big reward. Ekev. What's the reward? That God will remember his covenant with you and he'll gather you all together, etc. So both of them are contained in the word Ekev, the lowest and the highest. The lowest is the heels, and the highest is the final redemption. Even since the two explanations are in the same sentence, and even more than the same word, so it's moving, so it's understood. There must be a connection between these two opposite meanings. That the word Ekev means the lowest, the heels, and it means the highest, the height of godliness that we're going to reveal in the end of our exile. But Tzorech Lehavim, we have to understand what's the connection between these two. These two words. First of all, they have they're just two different. They're not just two different interpretations of the same word. But they're the opposite. Like the rabbis say, Mora Ekev al Darga Namucha Avoda. Ekev shows on the lowest, most simple type of service of God. The beginning of service of God, it says, like Rashi says, the simple commandments by a person that has to be careful not to try. They're so seemingly unimportant that you have to watch out not to trample them under your Ekev, under your heel. But that's the first meaning. The second meaning of the word Ekev, we said, is Ekev is talking about the reward, which is going to come at the end. That's the highest of all. It's not just two different meanings, it's two opposite meanings. And the question is, even on Rashi himself, it says before in the Torah, Ekev asher shama Avram v'koli. God uses the word Ekev also by Abraham when he's going to bless him. He used the word Akiv. And Rashi there doesn't say anything. He doesn't explain the word Akiv. Why? Because it's obvious that in this case, Akiv, when God is speaking to Abraham, it means Bavur, since, because of. Bavur said, because Abraham listened to what I said, so I'm going to give him a reward. Why all of a sudden does Rashi feel that he needs to explain over here Akiv and make this strange explanation that's talking about Akiv Tishma'un? The simple meaning is like it was to Abraham, Akiv, because you listened. And here the word says Akiv. Rashi says, no, it doesn't mean, that's not the simple. And Rashi only explains the simple meaning. Here it means Akiv is talking about the commandments that you trample under your Akiv, under your heels. But the word Akiv also is talking about the future redemption, the highest. Why does Rashi choose the lowest? That doesn't make any sense. Either Rashi could have kept quiet like he did when the word Akiv was used by Abraham, and the word is obvious, means because. Or Rashi could have used the highest meaning. Akiv means the future redemption that's going to be, that's what's waiting for us. Why did Rashi use the lowest? Maybe we can say like this. The revelation and the finishing of our service of God, that's the G-dly. God is going to come and reveal himself to us. This is brought about only by means of the lowest services of God possible. Serving God from pure, how do you say, resolution. Just, I made a resolution, I'm going to serve God. I don't understand. I don't know what God is. The heels. Al derech, like it says, also regarding the month of Elul. The month of Elul is the last month of the year. It's after the service of everything. But it begins with the letter Aleph. That's the first letter of Elul, which is the highest. Because by means of the beginning of our service, the letter Aleph, we can reach the end of our service, the month of Elul. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Another type of inventory we have to make, the month of Elul, regarding Moshiach. And that we'll talk about, God willing, tomorrow. The Geula, the future redemption. Now let us do the Yom Yom.